The Senate failed to pass a bill to defund Planned Parenthood yesterday, setting the stage for a potential government shutdown this fall. Two Republican presidential candidates say they're for a shutdown if necessary.
If it comes down to closing the government down or funding Planned Parenthood, what should the Republicans in the Congress do?
I apologize for not answering your question. They should close the government down.
It's the only way to get rid of Planned Parenthood money for selling off baby parts is to shut the government down in September. Would you support that?
Well, I can tell you this. I would.
Planned Parenthood supporter Elizabeth Warren lashed out at Republicans before the vote.
I come to the Senate floor today to ask my Republican colleagues a question. Do you have any idea what year it is? Did you fall down, hit your head, and think you woke up in the 1950s or the 1890s? Should we call for a doctor? Because I simply cannot believe that in the year 2015, the United States Senate would be spending its time trying to defund women's health care centers.
Senator Warren calls them women's health care centers, but a new fifth undercover video shows the group is in the business of selling the body parts of aborted babies.
So if we alter our process and we are able to obtain intact fetal cadavers, then we can make it part of the budget that any dissections are this, and splitting the specimens into different shipments is this. I mean, it's all just a matter of line items.
Oh, just all a matter of line items, Dana, and you had some pretty strong reactions.
I'm sickened, but I'm sickened by it, by the substance of it, and I also think that Senator Warren should be called out for something. Senator Joni Ernst is the first woman to be elected from the state of Iowa. She is the one who has led this legislative effort. She is a mother, a grandmother, somebody who fought for this country and has dedicated her life to public service. It is unconscionable for me, for both Warren and Hillary Clinton, to dismiss this as some sort of Republican war on women when it's actually an legislative effort being led by a woman, and it doesn't take away any cent of women's health care funding. It actually takes it out of Planned Parenthood and into healthcare community centers, as they've done successfully in other states like New Jersey. So I think that I think she owes Senator Joni Ernst an apology.
Absolutely. All right. So, Eric, what do you think?
So Heritage has a website called the Daily Signal. It's fantastic. They put out a thing today that showed that there are 9,000 federally qualified health centers in America providing services to 21 million Americans every year. And guess what? None of them provide abortion services. There are only 700 Planned Parenthood centers. That said, not any single one of the Planned Parenthood centers offers legitimate mammography services. Meanwhile, there are 8,000 of the 9,000 centers that do. So the straw man argument of if you defund Planned Parenthood specifically, you're depriving women of health services is ridiculous and is shut down. Read that piece. Two questions. If women knew before they had an abortion that their fetal body parts or tissue, whatever you want to call it, Juan, were going to be sold off to a third party, would they all agree to do the abortion? My guess is probably not. And number two, what kind of society do we live in where baby body parts, babies are more valuable dead than alive to a group like Planned Parenthood? It is disgusting.
Yeah, really. And Juan, you still seem to be confused.
I just, I listen because I'm very sensitive to the idea. I mean, I respect people who oppose abortion, but I just think this is a misguided conversation. It's a political
this conversation
effort.
That's actually nobody has said that they oppose abortion.
No, what Eric just said, for example, was, this is people who are somehow not providing health services for women, and that it can be done just as easily.
That's
and then you're going on about
an argument that says if you defund Planned Parenthood, women won't get services other than abortion.
No, I'm saying Planned Parenthood is in areas of the country where there aren't services available. There aren't services available, and you got to remember, this is an old conversation. It's the federal government that uses fetal tissue for scientific research. We fund it. If that's the argument, have that argument. But don't have an argument about abortion unless you just want it for a political issue.
Who at this table said
nobody
you said, Dana.
You're trying to conflate the issue because you don't have a leg to stand on.
I got two.
That's the problem.
Let me just tell you, Dana.
It's true.
You said this is Joni Ernst, who's a woman, a veteran, a wonderful person. I would concur. But don't forget, the other two sponsors are Paul and Cruz, both running for president, both using this issue because it has stirred the Republican base.
Unfair.
You know, it's sad because you can't
nothing that you just
embrace
said,
the morality
that
of
you're
it.
against abortion. Nobody is saying let's repeal Roe v. Wade in this legislation. It's specific to Planned Parenthood, and it doesn't take a dime away from women's health funding at the federal level.
I think that what you have is people, especially people who are against abortion, who have had, and they say this,
That's
a long-term goal of getting rid of Planned Parenthood. They just hate on Planned Parenthood.
Nope.
You know what? Because
nobody's trying to get rid of Planned Parenthood. They're talking about defunding from federal monies to support it, but it can be privatized.
There is no federal money for paying for abortions. It's the Hyde Amendment.
So you say, but you're not even aware of the facts, the circumstances, what's happening here, because you fail to acknowledge what's going on, that they are actually selling fetal body parts, not fetal tissue. You're not understanding what's happening here because you don't want to admit it. Greg.
This is all about one simple exercise, disguising evil as in euphemism. For example, if you listen to somebody like Barbara Boxer, when they call it fetal research, they aren't calling it what it is. Imagine if you were to experiment on the bodies of death row dwellers. Would you be able to call that inmate research? I don't think so. You would have everybody after you, every lawyer. When the argument for fetal tissue begins with, or it ends with the consequence, it's a shame to let it go to waste. You are then making a moral case against abortion because in order to let something go to waste, you already consider it valuable. You can't let something go to waste if it's waste. So when you decide that fetal research is important, that means that you, in your soul, admit that it is of value. Yep. It is of value. It is important. If it has a beating heart and you're using that tissue, it is not a waste. Now, this is not actually about defunding. It's important to approach the immoral subject and win it as a moral case in the town square. I don't care about the defunding. Right. I care about getting Planned Parenthood and getting the supporters into a town hall and actually debating this and framing this as you would frame slavery. Because what you're doing is you're defending people who cannot defend themselves. You could argue, because there is a beating heart and there is a DNA, that these are living creatures who don't have a voice. It's worse than slavery. This is something that if you wanted to fight a war over, you could. Because it has every bit as the emotional value and the factual, biological value that you're dealing with. Again, unless you view unborn children as recycling, it's not waste. It's actually real.
So when a woman says that she wants to have an abortion, you would say?
I would say there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, okay.
However, what I can say is you do not have the right to decide whether or not the heart or the liver goes anywhere just to appease your guilt and to make the decision
because
better.
Eric was saying earlier that the woman doesn't even say, oh, you know what, given I'm having an abortion, I would like this tissue to be used for some good purpose.
Who have abortions, if they were told
apparently
that
not, because guess what?
The baby's tissue is going to be used.
They sign and say we would like
All right,
something
I
to
don't know
come
yet.
of this.
Different than actually seeing a
Okay,
heartbeat.
we're going to have a